Hello everyone. Today we are on lesson 8, chapter 8. This is working with colors, images, and multimedia. So this goes into a lot more detail about how to make your page look really good and how to do that with CSS and how to do that with images and adding things to your page. So what we're going to learn in this lesson is we're going to talk about how to choose colors for our website that work. And what colors go well together. As you see, some websites just look really good and some just don't, and they look really busy. And it kind of goes into a little bit detail why certain colors work well together and why these pages look good and some best practices to go when designing your site. Some people are naturally really good at this. They just have like a graphical design eye and they can design really beautiful pages, and some people don't. So this will kind of help you and set some standards on how to design a good site. We're going to talk about how to use CSS to set our background for our site using text, different border colors. I'm going to talk about some graphics you can use, how to prepare photographs for online. It talks about cropping things and setting. It talks about using JPEG, PNGs, different types of images. It goes over how to create buttons and banners. We want to learn how to create transparent images. That's important, so it talks about that in this chapter. How to prepare an image for a tiled background, how to create animated web graphics. We're going to talk about how to place an image on a web page, how to describe images with text. We're going to talk about image height and width. Now, I went over this a little bit. I think it was in the last lesson with you. I showed you I had to set the height and width of an image because otherwise it would have been really big. So we're going to talk about a little bit more on how to setting your height and width of an image in this chapter. We're going to talk about how to align images, such as aligning them or floating them to the left or right of the page, and what the text and other information does around that image. Also, how to use background images. Sometimes you want a background image for your whole page. It talks a little bit about image maps. I don't use it that much in my daily development. It really is like it sounds. You would use it for like a map, a geographical map. But it talks about the pros and cons of that. It talks about how to link or embed multimedia files. So if you want to add a video or audio clip in your website, it shows you how to do that. And how to use HTML5 audio and video elements. So this is a big lesson. It has corresponding videos. It's a long lesson. It has lots of topics. But basically, if you want to, what you want to take out of this is just, this is kind of how to make your site look good and putting all that CSS stuff together to have not only a fully functional site, but a site that looks visually appealing. So we're going to go over a lot of good best practices on how to make that happen. Coming up next, I'm going to share my screen with you and show you a few examples of what we talked about in chapter 8. I'm going to go over a few of the important things that we learned in lesson 8, such as using colors, the hexadecimal version of colors or the RGB version of colors, setting a background color, adding images, floating images to the left or right, and embedding video or audio. So here I have an HTML document. You'll notice we have our required tags. I titled this lesson 8 examples. And I have some text in the body. I'm going to move this out of the way. I wanted to go over something real quick before we start. Commenting things out. A lot of times you might see in your book, it's called commenting out in your code. So, for example, if I wanted to make a note above here, in HTML, this is the format for commenting something out. Anything here will show up, whatever text editor used, in a different color. So I could put, I could put notes to myself. This is the heading. Or if I simply don't want this code to actually render or show in the browser, you can comment that out and it won't show. So whatever you're doing, if you want to see notes to yourself, the reason why I'm doing this here is because I want to show you two ways to use colors. So in the body, I want to give it a background color here. I commented this part out because that is the RGB. It's pretty much doing the same thing. One is hex, one's RGB. If you notice in CSS, when you comment out, it's different. You have to do the /* and then you have to end it with */. So In HTML, this is how you comment out a line of code. And in CSS, this is how you comment out a line of code. And like I said, whatever text editor you're using, it will show up in a different color, and it will not render in the browser. So it'll essentially be notes to yourself or code that you don't want to use or is not complete yet, so you don't want it to throw an error. All right, so back to our code here. In the body, I have H1 and a paragraph. I also added an image here. So we talked about this last time a little bit, adding images. Put the source, I have this in an image folder. Wherever my example.html is, in that folder I have a folder called images. And this is the camera image I'm using. Give it an alt tag camera. And then you can set the width and height of that. Now to style this body section, which is pretty much the whole page, give it a background color, this blue, and the text color of this lightish white green. So if I save this and load this here, notice this is the background color, this is the text color here, and that's how you use a hex color. So if we were to do an RGB, the color's a little different, but RGB, pretty much same way you use background color, put RGB, and then it's the red, green, and blue values. So I'm going to save this, reload, and that changes that, and the text is the same. So you can use hex or RGB. Your book talks about each one and how they're different. I just wanted to show you how to actually apply them and use them in your code. The next thing I want to go over is how to float images to the left and right. So if we're looking at this example here, the image here, we didn't do anything to it other than just add it in our page, so it just defaults over here on the left. But if we wanted to add some text here, or say we wanted the image on the right, we can float the image to the left or the right. So here, started a section. This section has a header. And then here there's two paragraphs. So we have a paragraph here, and then another paragraph down here. So essentially there's two paragraphs on the page. In this paragraph, has an image, which is the same image, the same way I did it up here. But in the style, I put float left. We gave it some padding. And we set the height and width the same. So that's going to float to the left around this text. This one floated to the right. Gave it the same padding, the same height and width. So now if we save this and open this, notice how the text stays around this. So this image is floated to the left, this image is floated to the right. Now when you float an image to the left or right, if you resize the browser, notice how the text will just go around the image. So this image is floated up to the left, and the text, if there's more, it will just wrap around that image like that. And same thing when it's here floated to the right, the text will just keep going around, and if you go wider, it'll just stay, and this will be the however big the image is. That's why it's important sometimes to float your images to the left or right, because it will enable just the text to go around, and it will be a seamless display whether you're on a smaller size device or a larger size device. So this is how you would float an image to the left or right. And your book has a similar example to do this. The next thing the book talks about that it's important is adding a video. So if we wanted to embed a video, Your book shows you that you can use the video tag. You can add multiple sources where if MP4 doesn't play, you can add a different one. So if this doesn't play, try this. And then if this doesn't work, it'll display this. Your browser does not support HTML5 video. So it's pretty much trying from top down this, then this. Now, if you want to have the play, pause, like start, stop controls, you put controls here in your tag. This is a video. I created a video folder as well as an images folder, and this is one from your intro from last time I just used. And the type is video MP4. So we're going to go here and reload the page now that we added that, and this is our video embed. So now that it has the controls, I can click play and pause. If we didn't have this and we reloaded, it wouldn't have any of these controls, and we wouldn't be able to play, and we would have to set it to auto start, and we wouldn't be able to stop it. So that's really important from a design standpoint, that you want to have the controls there for your user. You want them to be able to mute it or play it, and they'll see this bar to go along. So that's how you embed a video. And the same thing for audio. You can embed an audio the same way. Your book goes over that. Now notice here that I did style that a little bit. Set the width to 50%, height auto, float it to the left. Now, if we floated it to the right, it would be over here. If I didn't have this, if I didn't add this video, like say I commented it out or I deleted it, the video would by default just show up really big like this, and almost just too big. So that's why we had to set the width to half and give it an auto height. And the same thing if you wanted to style your audio, you could style your audio the same way. And that is how to make a background to your page, how to float images to the left or right, and how to embed a video to your website. I'll just show you this code again so you have it in case you want to copy it. So this is your HTML document, styling the body for a background color, styling the video, and this is how you comment stuff out. This is our section, floating our images to the left and then right. And then here's the video embed. And that's all the code there for the page. Up next, we have the PowerPoint presentation, so stay tuned.